Listen, nobody tells you that saving the galaxy starts with babysitting a dragon who's having an existential crisis in a maintenance closet. But here we are. Galactic Council Station Omega-9 hung in the void like a titanium snowflake. If snowflakes were the size of small moons and cost more than most planetary defense budgets, it orbited a neutral star in contested space, which meant everyone hated where it was, but nobody hated it enough to blow it up. Galactic politics at its finest, really. Thousands of species, hundreds of languages, and exactly zero ability to agree on anything except that humans were the weird new kids who probably shouldn't be trusted with sharp objects. Rowan stood in the security briefing room, watching his reflection in the polished viewport, and wondering, not for the first time, how his life had gone so magnificently sideways. 28 years old, former military contractor, current diplomatic protection specialist, and permanent smartmouth. His dark hair needed cutting, his uniform needed pressing, and his attitude needed a complete personality transplant. None of these things were likely to happen. Alcott! Priya marched into the room like a small hurricane in an administrator's uniform. She was human, thank God, which meant Rowan could be casually insubordinate without triggering an interstellar incident. Probably. "That's me," Rowan said, not bothering to straighten from his lean against the console. "What fresh nightmare are we dealing with today? Please tell me it's not the crystalline chorus again. I'm still finding glass shards from the last time they had feelings about the cafeteria menu." "Worse!" Priya slapped a data tablet into his chest hard enough to hurt. "You've been assigned protection detail for the Quincentennial Accords." "Oh, good. Just the single most important diplomatic event in 500 years. Nothing stressful about that." "For a DracCon Imperial Ambassador." Rowan blinked, then blinked again, then said very carefully, "I'm sorry. What?" "You heard me. Priya, friend, light of my professionally miserable existence, the DracCon literally conquered half the galaxy. They're functionally immortal. They breathe fire. They're the size of buildings. In what possible universe does one of them need a human security guard?" Priya's expression suggested she'd already had this exact argument with herself and lost. Apparently this one. Ambassador Nim arrives in 20 minutes. Docking Bay 12. Try not to embarrass our entire species. "I make no promises. I know. That's what worries me." She left. Rowan stared at the tablet, scrolling through the briefing materials with increasing confusion. Ambassador Nim of the DracCon Imperium. Mid-rank noble. Age, approximately 3,000 years old, give or take a century. Dietary requirements, mostly carnivorous, can synthesize nutrients from stellar radiation if necessary. Special accommodations, temperature control between 800 and 1,200 degrees Celsius, reinforced flooring, extra-wide corridors. The photo showed a creature of impossible beauty, serpentine grace combined with predatory power, scales that shifted between copper and deep amber, wings folded against a body roughly the size of a transit bus, eyes like molten gold. "Right," Rowan muttered. "No pressure." Docking Bay 12 smelled like ozone and recycled air. Rowan arrived with 10 minutes to spare, which meant he had 10 minutes to contemplate his life choices and wonder if it was too late to fake his own death and retire to a monastery. A monastery far, far away from giant space lizards who could probably sneeze him into component atoms. The docking clamps engaged with a hiss of pneumatics. Rowan straightened his posture and tried to look like someone who definitely belonged here and absolutely had not spent the walkover catastrophizing. The transport door opened. Heat rolled out in waves that made the air shimmer. And then Nim emerged. The photos hadn't done them justice. Couldn't have, really. Nim moved with liquid grace, scales catching the station's lighting and throwing it back in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Horns curved back from an elegant skull. Those golden eyes swept the docking bay with an expression that Rowan couldn't quite read, but definitely wasn't the arrogant superiority he'd expected. "Ambassador Nim," Rowan said, managing to keep his voice steady. "I'm Rowan. I'll be your security detail during the Accords." Nim's head lowered to approximately Rowan's eye level, which was probably meant to be polite, but mostly made Rowan very aware of teeth. Many, many teeth. A human. Nim's voice was strange, melodic, but with an underlying resonance that Rowan felt in his bones. How unexpected. "Yeah, I get that a lot. Listen, I know this probably seems ridiculous to you, having someone like me assigned to someone like you, but regulations are regulations, and apparently even representatives of the single most powerful species in the galaxy have to put up with council bureaucracy." Something flickered in those golden eyes. Amusement? Relief? Rowan couldn't tell. "Indeed," Nim said quietly. "Regulations. Right. So I've reviewed your schedule. The opening ceremony isn't until tomorrow, which gives you time to settle into your quarters. I'll walk you through the station layout, show you the secure routes to the main conference halls, answer any questions you might have." "That is acceptable." They started walking, Rowan leading the way through corridors that had been specifically reinforced for DracCon visitors. Other species gave them a wide berth, not running exactly, but definitely engaging in what Rowan mentally termed tactical retreat. A group of methane breathers in their containment suits practically flattened themselves against a wall. A delegation of Arbor Communion representatives, essentially ambulatory trees, rustled their leaves in what might have been a greeting or possibly terror. Rowan kept up a running commentary, pointing out important landmarks, making small jokes that Nim responded to with polite humming sounds that might have been laughter. It all seemed perfectly normal, except Rowan had spent years reading body language across dozens of species, and something was off. Nim moved beautifully, but carefully. Those golden eyes tracked every movement, every shadow. When a maintenance drone zipped past on ceiling tracks, Nim flinched. Just slightly, just for a moment, but definitely flinched. A 3,000-year-old apex predator had flinched at a cleaning robot. "Here we are," Rowan said, stopping at a set of massive doors. "Your quarters. Climate-controlled, reinforced structure, private access to external venting if you need to, flame things. Not that I'm judging. Everyone needs hobbies." "You are very—" Nim paused, seeming to search for a word. "Informal." "Yeah, it's kind of my thing. Some people find it charming. Most people find it annoying. I've made peace with it." Rowan pulled up the access panel. "Your biometrics are already keyed in. If you need anything, my comm code is on your personal terminal. And I do mean anything. Security concerns, dietary questions, someone looked at you wrong. I'm here to make sure your time on Omega-9 goes smoothly." "I see." Nim's tail coiled in what Rowan was starting to recognize as an unconscious gesture. "And if I simply wished to speak with someone?" Now that was interesting. "Then you call me, and we speak. I'm not just here to throw myself between you and assassins, though I'll absolutely do that if necessary. I'm here to help, whatever that looks like." Nim regarded him for a long moment. "You are different from what I expected of humans. Good, different, or bad, different? I have not yet decided." "Fair enough. Get settled, rest up. Big day tomorrow. You'll be meeting representatives from about 60 species, all of whom will be trying very hard to pretend they're not terrified of you." Something like pain crossed Nim's face, So quick Rowan almost missed it. Yes, of course. Terrified. The door closed, leaving Rowan alone in the corridor with a growing suspicion that this assignment was going to be significantly more complicated than babysitting an overpowered space dragon. 6 hours later, Rowan was supposed to be off duty. Should have been in his quarters, sleeping, preparing for the chaos of the opening ceremonies. Instead, he was doing his third patrol of the station's main diplomatic levels because insomnia was apparently his permanent roommate now. He'd learned the hard way that his brain needed motion to shut up. Walking helped. Checking things helped. Making sure nothing was actively on fire helped, metaphorically speaking. The thing about massive space stations, they had a lot of maintenance areas, service corridors, places where important people didn't go, but where important work happened. Rowan had long ago memorized every shortcut, every quiet space. Old military habits died hard, and knowing the terrain had saved his life more than once. So when he heard something that sounded distinctly like breathing in Maintenance Bay 9-3, he investigated. The bay was technically restricted, authorized personnel only, but Rowan's security clearance opened pretty much everything except the council president's private bathroom. He slipped inside, expecting to find a maintenance crew or maybe someone getting romantically creative in a space they thought was private. Instead, he found Nim. The dragon was curled in the corner of the bay, wings folded tight, tail wrapped around their body. Their whole form was shaking. Not from cold. Drakon didn't feel cold. From something else entirely. Rowan froze. This felt private. This felt like something he absolutely should not be witnessing. He should leave. Should back away quietly. Pretend he'd never seen this. Instead, he heard himself say, very gently, "Nim?" The dragon's head snapped up, golden eyes wide with something that looked horribly like fear. You should not be here. Neither should you, technically. This is a maintenance bay. Pretty sure it's not rated for your particular energy signature. Rowan took a slow step forward, hands visible, posture non-threatening. Are you okay? I am fine. Perfectly fine. Simply inspecting the facility, ensuring adequate safety protocols. While hyperventilating in a corner? Drakon, do not hyperventilate. Okay, what would you call what you're currently doing? Silence. Long, painful silence. Then, so quietly, Rowan almost missed it. Surviving. And just like that, the entire weird, awkward, confusing interaction clicked into place. The flinching. The careful movements. The way Nim tracked every sound and shadow like expecting an attack. The pain when Rowan mentioned others being terrified. "Oh," Rowan said. Then, because apparently he'd left his sense of self-preservation in his other pants, he walked over and sat down on the floor about 3 meters from Nim, close enough to talk comfortably, far enough to not be threatening. Want to tell me what's really going on? You would not understand. Try me. I'm surprisingly good at understanding things I'm not supposed to. Nim's tail tightened. Those massive wings shifted, rustling like metallic wind chimes. Everyone believes the Drakon are invincible, powerful beyond measure, beings to be feared and respected. Generally, yeah, that's the reputation. It is a lie. Rowan waited. He'd learned that sometimes the best interrogation technique was just shutting up and giving people space to fill the silence. We are not invincible, Nim continued, voice rough. We are simply very good at appearing so. Our physical forms are formidable, yes. We live for thousands of years. We can survive in environments that would kill most species. But inside, a sound that might have been laughter, or might have been a sob. Inside, we are fragile, so fragile. Fragile how? The galaxy sees us as conquerors, warlords, apex predators. They do not see the anxiety that makes it difficult to leave our home worlds, the trauma responses that trigger at unexpected sounds, the social pressures that feel like drowning. We conquered half the galaxy because we were terrified. Terrified of being vulnerable, of being seen as weak. And now we are trapped in the image we created. Rowan processed this, then processed it again. So the entire DracCon Imperium is essentially running the galaxy's most elaborate bluff. Yes. And you're here, thousands of light years from home, surrounded by species who think you're a walking apocalypse, while actually having what looks like a pretty severe panic attack. Yes. Why? Nim's laugh was bitter. Because I am expendable, a minor noble with increasingly public struggles. The Imperium thought sending me here would either force me to maintain our image or allow me to fail quietly, far from important eyes. Either outcome serves their purposes. Rowan sat with that for a moment, feeling anger build in his chest, not at Nim, but at the system that had put them in this position. That's monumentally screwed up. That is politics. No, that's cruelty dressed up as politics. There's a difference. Rowan leaned back against the wall. So let me make sure I understand. You're here, trying to represent your people in the most important negotiations in half a millennium, while actively falling apart, with no support system, and everyone expects you to be this terrifying, all-powerful being. Essentially, yes. Well, Rowan said, that sounds absolutely terrible, and I'm really sorry you're dealing with it. Nim's head swiveled to stare at him. You are? Sorry? Yeah. I know what it's like to be somewhere you don't want to be, doing something you're not equipped for, with everyone expecting you to be someone you're not. It sucks. It sucks in a profound and personal way, and I'm sorry you're going through it. You are strange. I prefer refreshingly honest, but sure, strange works. Rowan stood up, brushed off his pants. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go back to your quarters and try to get some rest. Tomorrow, you're going to show up to that opening ceremony, and you're going to do your best. And while you're doing that, I'm going to be right there, making sure nothing and nobody makes this any harder for you than it already is. You cannot protect me from my own mind. No, but I can protect you from literally everything else, which, statistically speaking, should help. Rowan offered a smile. Look, I know we just met, and I know I'm just some random human who probably looks like a particularly enthusiastic puppy to you, but I'm good at my job, and my job right now is making sure you're okay. So let me do my job. I still do not understand you. That's fine. Understanding is overrated. Come on, let's get you back before someone notices you're missing and starts a panic. They walked through the quiet corridors, Nim moving a bit less carefully now, as if some weight had been partially lifted. At the door to their quarters, the dragon paused. Rowan? Yeah? Thank you for not treating me as if I am broken. You're not broken. You're just dealing with some stuff. Everyone deals with stuff, even 3,000-year-old space dragons. Rowan grinned. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. He walked away, already planning, already thinking, already assembling the pieces of what he'd just learned into something useful. Because something about this entire situation smelled wrong. A struggling dragon sent alone to critical negotiations? An ambassador with no support team? The Imperium was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them, which meant either they were cruel beyond measure, Or there was something else going on. Something bigger. Rowan pulled out his personal comm, opened a secure channel, and started digging through station records. Guest manifests? Delegation rosters? Arrival schedules? If someone had set Nim up to fail, there would be evidence. There was always evidence. He just had to find it before whatever was coming actually arrived. Morning on Omega-9 arrived with all the subtlety of a plasma explosion. Rowan had managed approximately 3 hours of sleep, 2 cups of coffee that tasted like recycled despair, and a growing certainty that something on this station was very, very wrong. The opening ceremony was scheduled for noon, which gave him exactly 4 hours to figure out why his instincts were screaming danger. He found Nim in their quarters, practicing what looked like breathing exercises. The dragon noticed him immediately, those golden eyes tracking his entrance with the wariness of someone expecting bad news. "Morning," Rowan said, deliberately casual. "Sleep okay?" "Adequate. You look terrible." "Yeah, insomnia and paranoia make for great roommates. Listen, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." Nim's tail coiled. "Ask. Is there anyone who would benefit from you failing here? Politically, I mean. Anyone back home who'd be happy to see you crash and burn?" The pause was answer enough. "Several," Nim admitted finally. "My position is not secure. There are factions within the Imperium who believe I am unsuitable for public roles, that my struggles make me a liability." "Right. And if you had a very public breakdown during the most watched diplomatic event in centuries, that would pretty much prove their point." "Yes." "Great. Love that for us." Rowan pulled up his data tablet, started scrolling through the information he'd compiled overnight. "Here's what I found. There are 63 delegations on this station. 59 of them have standard security details, diplomatic staff, the usual entourage. 4 have anomalous patterns." "Anomalous how?" "Extra personnel who don't match standard profiles, communication bursts to non-standard frequencies, unusual movement patterns during off hours." Rowan highlighted several entries. The Omicron Collective brought twice their normal security complement. The methane breathers have 3 staff members whose credentials are brand new, issued less than a month ago, and someone's been accessing restricted sections of the station's environmental systems. Nim leaned closer, studying the data. "You believe there is a conspiracy. I believe in patterns, and this pattern says someone's planning something." Rowan looked up, met those golden eyes. "The question is what and how it involves you. Perhaps it does not involve me at all. Perhaps you are seeing threats where none exist. Maybe. But you know what's weird? Your delegation manifest. You came alone. No staff, no guards, no support personnel. Every other major power brought at least a dozen people. You brought 0. I already explained. Yeah, that you're expendable. I got that part. But here's the thing. Expendable doesn't mean unsupervised. If the Imperium wanted you to fail quietly, they'd still send watchers. People to document your failure, to control the narrative. Instead, they sent you completely alone to the most important negotiations in 500 years. Rowan tapped the tablet. "That's not abandonment. That's bait." The silence stretched. Rowan watched realization dawn on Nim's face like a particularly unpleasant sunrise. "They want someone to target me," Nim said slowly. "If I am attacked, harmed, or killed, it justifies the Imperium taking aggressive action. It provides an excuse for military escalation. Bingo! You're not here to succeed or fail. You're here to be a martyr. But I am not dead. Yet. The ceremony's in 4 hours. If I'm right, whatever's coming will happen there. maximum visibility, maximum chaos, maximum political fallout. Rowan started pacing, thinking out loud. We need to identify the actual threat, figure out who's coordinating this, and stop it before you become the spark that sets the galaxy on fire. That seems like a substantial task for one human security contractor. Yeah, well, I've always been an overachiever. Rowan grinned, though it didn't reach his eyes. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to that ceremony. You're going to be the perfect diplomat, gracious, composed, terrifying when appropriate. And I'm going to be watching everything and everyone, looking for whoever makes the wrong move. And if they succeed, if despite your preparations someone attacks, then I stop them. That's literally what I'm here for. You are one human. If this is truly a coordinated effort. Nim, look at me. Rowan waited until the dragon's full attention was on him. Last night, you told me you can't protect yourself. Remember what I said in response? You said you would protect me. Right. And I meant it. I don't care if the threat's one person or a whole fleet. I don't care if it's political intrigue or actual assassins. You are under my protection, which means anyone who wants to hurt you has to go through me first. Rowan's expression hardened. And I promise you, that is significantly harder than it looks. Niam stared at him for a long moment. You are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Why not both? Come on, we've got 4 hours to prepare, and I need to brief you on emergency protocols. Also, do you know how to fake unconsciousness? Because if things go sideways, playing dead might actually save your life. This is your security plan? Playing dead? It's part of a multi-layered strategy that I'm totally making up as I go. Trust me, I'm a professional. I am beginning to understand why humans terrify the galaxy. Good. Let's use that. The Grand Council chamber was a monument to excess and political posturing. Circular, roughly the size of a sports arena, with seating arranged in concentric rings that allowed every species to maintain their preferred environmental conditions. Gravity wells for the heavy worlders, atmospheric bubbles for the breathers who needed something other than standard oxygen-nitrogen mix, temperature zones ranging from cryogenic to surface of a star. In the center, a raised platform where speakers would address the assembly, surrounded by the kind of security that made Rowan's professional instincts simultaneously impressed and skeptical. Because impressive security often meant someone was compensating for gaps elsewhere. Rowan stood in the wings, watching delegates file in with the casual paranoia that had kept him alive this long. Nim was positioned in the DracCon section, elevated platform, high-temperature zone, perfect visibility from every angle in the chamber. Perfect visibility also meant perfect target. His comm chirped. Priya's voice crackled through. Alcott, status report. Everything's fine. Totally normal. Definitely not expecting an interstellar incident any minute now. Your reassurances are deeply unsettling. That's my brand. Rowan scanned the crowd. Listen, if things get weird, and I mean when, not if, I need you to be ready to lock down specific sections. I'm sending you a list of priority isolation points. What exactly are you expecting? Honestly? No idea. But my gut says it's going to be spectacular, in the worst possible way. Priya sighed. Why did I take this job? Because you love the thrill of potential interstellar warfare? I'll keep you updated. He cut the connection, focused back on the chamber. The Omicron Collective's delegation had arrived, insectoids moving in perfect synchronization, their hive-mind coordination both fascinating and unsettling. Their lead representative, Moth, settled into position with movements that seemed just slightly too calculated. The Arbor Communion representatives swayed gently, their root systems connecting to the two specialized nutrient ports. Their spokesperson, Talus, was apparently some kind of ancient willow variant, branches draped with what might have been decorative moss or possibly clothing. Hard to tell with plant people. Methane breathers in their containment suits, rock-based species who communicated through vibration, energy beings contained in magnetic bottles. The usual impossible diversity that made council sessions look like someone had raided every science fiction writer's fever dream. And there, entering with theatrical timing, another Drakon. Rowan's attention sharpened. Nim had said they came alone. So who was this? The dragon was larger than Nim, scales a deeper crimson with gold edging, movements radiating authority and barely contained aggression. They swept into the Drakon section, and Rowan saw Nim's entire posture shift. Not fear exactly, but something close. Recognition and dread. Rowan! Nim's voice came through his private comm, quiet and tight. That is Ordis, Imperial Oversight. I did not know he would be here. Friend of yours? The opposite. He is among those who believe I should not hold any position of authority. His presence means someone's watching to make sure you fail. Or worse. Rowan kept his voice calm. Okay, new plan. You focus on the ceremony. I focus on Ordis and anyone he might be coordinating with. He is Drakon. You cannot simply watch me. The opening remarks began. Some crystalline chorus representative, whose name Rowan couldn't pronounce, started speaking in harmonics that made his teeth hurt. He tuned it out, attention on Ordis, on Moth, on the subtle movements of people who thought they weren't being observed. There. A methane breather. Third row. Environmental suit slightly different from the others. Communications array more sophisticated than standard. Rowan tagged the location mentally, started building a map of suspicious positions. Another one. Rock-based species positioned near an access corridor. Too perfect a line of sight to the central platform. Rowan's blood went cold. This wasn't one plot. This was multiple plots, all converging on the same target at the same time. The speeches continued. Representatives from various powers talking about unity, cooperation, the bright future of galactic civilization. Beautiful lies told by people who were minutes away from proving exactly how fragile that civilization actually was. Nim's turn came. The dragon moved to the central platform with admirable composure, and Rowan felt a surge of pride. Whatever terror Nim was feeling, they hid it perfectly. Honored representatives, Nim began, voice carrying through the chamber with that bone-deep resonance. The Drakon Imperium stands committed to the principles of... The lights went out. Not a flicker, not a brownout. Complete, instantaneous darkness. Emergency systems kicked in 3 seconds later. Long enough for chaos. Not long enough to prevent it entirely. Red emergency. Lighting bathed everything in blood-colored shadows, and in those 3 seconds, everything went wrong at once. Rowan's combat instincts took over. He was moving before conscious thought caught up, sprinting toward the central platform. His night vision was good. Military augmentation that had cost him 2 months' salary, but was about to prove worth every credit. He saw the methane breather raise something, saw the rock-based species moving toward Nim with purpose, saw Ordis doing absolutely nothing to help, just watching with what might have been satisfaction. "Priya, lock it down!" Rowan shouted into his comm. "Full containment protocols, section by section." Bulkhead doors started descending. Slow, but inevitable. Not fast enough. Rowan reached the platform just as the first projectile launched. Some kind of neural disruptor. He recognized the signature from his military days. Designed to overwhelm nervous systems, cause temporary paralysis. Extremely illegal, extremely effective. He threw himself between Nim and the blast. Pain exploded through every nerve ending. His body seized, muscles locked, and for a horrible moment he couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except experience agony in high definition. But he'd taken hits before, trained for this, knew how to force his body to respond even when every cell was screaming. Rowan hit the ground, rolled, came up with his sidearm drawn. Put 3 rounds into the methane breather's suit. Not lethal, but enough to compromise the integrity. The figure stumbled back, methane hissing from the punctures, their weapon clattering away. The rock-based species was closer now. Rowan couldn't stop them in time. But Nim could. The dragon moved faster than anything that size had any right to move. Wings snapped open, creating a barrier between themselves and their attacker. Not aggressive, defensive. Protecting themselves through sheer physical presence. The attacker hesitated, just for a moment. Long enough for Anvil, the station's security chief, a massive granite-textured alien built like a geological formation, to arrive with reinforcements. The rock-based species went down under combined restraints, still struggling but effectively neutralized. More security poured in. The emergency lighting stabilized. The chaos started resolving into something manageable. Rowan forced himself to his feet, every muscle protesting. His vision was still sparking at the edges, neural disruptor after effects dancing through his synapses. He staggered toward Nim. "You okay?" "I am unharmed. You, however—" "Yeah, I'm fantastic. Love getting electrocuted. It's my favorite." Rowan's legs decided holding him up was optional. He sat down hard on the platform edge. "Did we get them all?" Anvil's rumbling voice answered. 3 attackers neutralized. Checking for additional threats. "Alcott, you need medical." "I need answers." "Who were they working for?" "Unknown. They are not talking." But Rowan's attention had shifted to Ordis. The larger dragon had moved during the chaos, not toward safety, not toward Nim, but toward one of the access corridors, moving like someone who knew exactly where they were going. "Nim," Rowan said quietly. "Ordis, where's he going?" They both looked. Ordis was almost to the corridor entrance, moving with purpose. "That corridor leads to environmental controls," Nim said slowly. "If someone accessed those systems, they could destabilize the entire station." Rowan tried to stand, failed, tried again. "Priya, I need a lock on Ordis. Dragon, DracCon section, heading toward Corridor 8-9. "Searching. Rowan, he's accessing restricted systems. Multiple alerts triggering across environmental controls." "Can you shut him down remotely?" "Not fast enough. He's got override codes." Rowan looked at Nim. "How fireproof is this station?" "Excuse me. Can you fly?" "I have not flown in years. The anxiety, the coordination required." "Yeah, well, now would be a great time to remember how. Because I can't stop him. Anvil's too slow. And if Ordis reaches environmental controls, this entire station becomes a tomb." Rowan grabbed Nim's foreleg, pulled himself up using the dragon as support. "You said you can't protect yourself. Fine. But you can protect everyone else here. Thousands of lives, Nim. You're the only one fast enough to stop him." "I cannot—" "Yes, you can. You're terrified. I get it. But you're also brave enough to be here in the first place. You're brave enough to stand on that platform and give your speech while falling apart inside. You're brave enough to defend yourself when attacked. Rowan met those golden eyes. You're brave enough for this. I know you are. Nim stared at him, then at Ortis, disappearing into the corridor. Then spread their wings, really spread them, fully extended, magnificent and terrible. If I fail, you won't. Now go. I'll coordinate from here. Nim launched, not gracefully, not smoothly, but with desperate determination. Wings caught air, powerful muscles propelling them forward. The entire chamber went silent, watching a dragon fly for the first time in what was probably decades. Rowan activated his comm. All security, converge on environmental controls. We have a hostile dragon heading there now, and a friendly dragon in pursuit. Do not, under any circumstances, shoot the friendly one. How do we tell the difference? Someone asked. The friendly one is the one not trying to kill everyone. Figure it out. He watched Nim disappear into the corridor, following Ortis into whatever confrontation waited there, and realized, with perfect clarity, that he'd just sent someone who could barely handle being in public into a direct confrontation with their worst nightmare. Please don't die, Rowan muttered. I just got this job. I'd really like to not fail on day one. Environmental Control Room 3 was not designed for dragon fights. Then again, most places weren't. Rowan arrived 60 seconds after Nim, which felt like 60 years. His legs were still half numb from the neural disruptor, but adrenaline and spite made for excellent motivators. Anvil and a security team thundered behind him, moving as fast as beings made of literal rock could manage. The door was torn off its hinges, not a great sign. Inside, chaos rendered in scales and fire. Ortis had Nim pinned against the main control console, claws digging into smaller dragons' shoulders. The size difference was obvious. Ortis outweighed Nim by at least a third, and those extra centuries of age translated to raw physical power. Pathetic, Ortis snarled, voice like grinding stone. You could not even stop me, just like you cannot do anything without falling apart. The Imperium deserves better than broken tools. Nim was shaking, wings pinned awkwardly, but their eyes burned with something Rowan recognized, not fear, fury. You, Nim gasped. You orchestrated this, the attacks, the conspiracy. You wanted me to fail. I wanted you to die, actually. Would have been cleaner. But watching you crumble works, too. Ortis glanced at the control console, where several override commands were queued and counting down. In approximately 90 seconds, this station's environmental systems will cascade. Atmosphere will vent. Thousands will die. And the blame will fall on Council security failures, triggering the exact political chaos we need to justify expansion. We? Rowan stepped into the room, weapon raised. Love that you said we. Means you're not alone. Makes this a conspiracy, which makes it so much easier to prosecute. Ortis didn't even look at him. The human pet. How adorable. Tell me, do you truly believe that weapon will penetrate Drakon scales? Nope, but I don't need to penetrate scales. Rowan adjusted his aim slightly. I just need to hit the console you're standing in front of. Station armor-piercing rounds tend to do exciting things to delicate electronics. Want to find out if you can stop those commands before I destroy the interface entirely? You would kill everyone on this station to stop me. I'd force you to stop yourself to save everyone. There's a difference. Your move, Ortis. For a long moment, nobody moved. Classical standoff, Dragon Edition. Then Nim twisted. Not a lot. They didn't have the leverage for dramatic escapes, just enough to get their head oriented toward Ortis's foreleg. And bit down, hard. Ortis roared, reflexively releasing his grip. Nim rolled away, came up on unsteady feet, and did something Rowan absolutely did not expect. Laughed. "You want to know the difference between us, Ordis? You think fear makes someone weak. But I have been afraid every single day of my life. Afraid of failing, afraid of judgment, afraid of being exactly what you keep calling me. Broken, pathetic, useless." Nim's voice was shaking but strong. "And I came here anyway. I stood on that platform anyway. I flew here anyway. Fear does not make me weak. It makes me someone who does difficult things despite the terror." Beautiful speech, completely irrelevant. Ordis lunged for the console. Rowan fired. The round hit precisely where he'd aimed. The main processing unit. Sparks exploded. The countdown stuttered, displays flickering, but didn't stop. "Backup systems," Ordis said, satisfaction in his voice. "Did you think I would not have redundancies? You have achieved nothing except—" Loom dropped from the ceiling vent. The avian communications officer had apparently taken "all security converge" to mean "creative entry points encouraged." Her talons hit Ordis's snout with enough force to make the larger dragon stagger. Then she was airborne again, wings beating in the confined space. "Sorry I'm late," Loom called. "Traffic was terrible." Anvil and his team poured through the door. 3 security officers went immediately to the console, pulling access panels, working to manually override the countdown. Anvil himself positioned between Ordis and any possible escape route, which was impressive because Anvil occupied approximately the same volume as a small building. "This changes nothing," Ordis said, but his voice had lost its certainty. "The Imperium will know what happened here. They will understand that humans interfered in DracCon affairs." "Oh, we've got it all recorded," Rowan interrupted. "Audio, video, the whole confession package. You tried to kill thousands of people and frame it as a security failure. You coordinated with multiple species to destabilize the Council. You assaulted a fellow DracCon Imperial ambassador." He smiled. "You're done. Completely, thoroughly done. You cannot prove—" "Actually, we can." Priya's voice came through the room's comm system. "I've been tracking all your communications since Rowan flagged the pattern. Every message to your co-conspirators, every coordinate signal, every override code you used. It's all documented, time-stamped, and backed up in about 16 different secure locations. Plus," Rowan added cheerfully, "the 3 attackers we captured are singing like a very discordant choir. Apparently, coordinated conspiracies fall apart really fast when people realize they're going to take the fall alone. Funny how that works." The countdown hit 30 seconds. One of the security technicians shouted, "Got it! Shutting down cascade sequence now!" 20 seconds. Come on," the technician muttered, hands flying over manual controls. 10 seconds. Rowan found himself holding his breath. Beside him, Nim had gone perfectly still. 5 seconds. The display froze, then reset, then displayed a simple message. "Environmental systems stable." The collective exhale was audible. "Right," Anvil rumbled. "Ordis of the DracCon Imperium, you are under arrest for attempted mass murder, conspiracy to commit terrorism, assault on a diplomatic official, and unauthorized access to station systems. You will be held pending trial under Council authority. The Imperium will never allow—" "The Imperium," a new voice said from the doorway, "will absolutely allow it." Another DracCon entered, older, smaller, scales of faded silver. But the authority in their presence made even Ordis flinch. "Ambassador Nim," the newcomer said, "I am Magistrate Lineth. I arrived this morning as part of secondary Imperial oversight. When I heard of the attack, I reviewed all available data." They looked at Ordis, with something like disgust. You have shamed the Imperium. You have betrayed everything we claim to represent. You will face justice, our justice and the Council's. Ordis was led away in restraints designed for beings who breathe fire. The security teams dispersed. The crisis ended not with explosions but with paperwork, which Rowan privately thought was somehow more satisfying. He found Nim standing near the damaged console, still shaking slightly. "Hey," Rowan said quietly. "You okay?" "I bit him." "Yeah, you did. It was awesome. I have never bitten another Dracon in my life. It was incredibly undignified. It was incredibly effective. There's a difference." Rowan leaned against the wall, exhaustion catching up to him. "You saved everyone, you know. If you hadn't stopped Ordis when you did, if you hadn't given us that opening, we'd all be breathing vacuum right now. You saved me first, multiple times. That's literally my job." "No." Nim turned to face him fully. "Your job is security. What you did was friendship. There is a difference." Rowan felt something warm settle in his chest. Yeah, I guess there is." They stood there for a moment, human and dragon, exhausted and alive. "So," Rowan said eventually, "the Accord still needs signing. Think you're up for round 2? With you providing security?" "Wouldn't miss it." Nim's laugh was shaky but genuine. "Then, yes, I believe I am." 3 hours later, the Quincentennial Accords were signed without further incident. The ceremony made galactic news, not for the violence, though that was covered extensively, but for the image that went viral across every major network. A dragon and a human, standing together on the council floor. Nim giving their speech, the real one this time, the one they'd written in the aftermath, about vulnerability and strength and the courage it takes to ask for help. And Rowan, visible in the background, watching not the dragon but the crowd, ensuring no further threats emerged. The caption that spread alongside the image was simple. "I can't protect myself. Good, I'll protect you." It became a rallying cry, a meme, a philosophy. And in Niam's quarters that night, sharing a meal that accommodated both human and dragon dietary requirements, Rowan raised his glass of something that approximated wine. "To friendship," he said. Nim touched their claw to his glass. "To protection. To doing impossible things while absolutely terrified. To humans who are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Why not both?" They drank. They laughed. They made plans for tomorrow's meetings and next week's negotiations and all the complicated, messy work of galactic politics. Because someone very wise once said that vulnerability is not weakness, that asking for help is not surrender, that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is admit you cannot do it alone. And sometimes the person standing beside you, willing to throw themselves between you and danger, makes all the difference. Even if they are just a human. Especially if they are just a human. After all, humans have always had this peculiar habit of protecting things that need protecting, of adopting strays and fighting for lost causes, and standing up when standing up seems impossible. It's annoying, really, and absolutely, wonderfully invaluable.